Okay, so I've been asked to make a video about lids. And so I'm going to talk about making just a few lids. There's lots of different types of lids you can make out there. But I'm going to talk about a few different lids, and then I'm going to make a pot that doesn't, that the pot and the lid are thrown together. These are not my own techniques. These are just techniques I've seen from other people. I'm going to start by making a lid for this one. Kind of a, actually I'm going to bring this in a little bit further. I'm going to make a little cap that sits on top of here. It'll have a piece that fits inside here, and it'll have a lip that goes over the edge of this thing, and it'll be kind of a dome. Okay, is what I'm going to make. If you're out there in the world trying to figure out where I bought this thing, I didn't buy it. I made it. This bat system thing. I made it myself. Save yourself the trouble of trying to find it on the internet. But there's lots of versions there out there. All right, so I'm going to throw this with a really, really, really thick foot because I have a lot of clay here, much more than I need for that lid. So I'm going to throw it with a really thick foot, and then later on, if I wanted to, I could just trim all that off. But I could also trim it into a handle. I could actually trim the knob if I wanted to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in a little bit underneath. I'm going to go down in the center here. I'm going to pull a fairly fat bowl. It has to have a very thick lip right here for what it is I'm going to do. So I'm going to come further down in the bottom and come out. I'm intentionally trying to leave a really fat lip. It's got to have a fat lip. All right, so now I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to find out what the interior dimension of this thing is. Right about there. That's actually not bad. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to split this lip. I'm going to have my videographer come right over here and watch me on this side as I split that lip. Now, obviously this lip needs to be terribly centered in order to be able to handle this. And I'm going to push right down in the center there. And I'm going to split that lip into the part for the inside and the part for the outside. Now the question is this the right size? Which is probably not. It's not actually that bad. Oh, I did a pretty good job. So I'm going to need to collar this in a little bit. Keep in mind this is just a concept video, not intended to be the most perfect lid altogether, but an idea of how to create a type of lid that this thing should fit on there. This thing goes here. Yeah, that's right. About there. I'm going to go ahead and nestle that in a little bit. Now, if I was going to keep this thing and I cared about it, I would never do what I'm about to do right now, but I'm going to do it just to kind of show you what this thing is supposed to look like. I'm not keeping either of these things. This is just for demonstration purposes, but in case you didn't catch that visual, I would put this on this wheel and I would trim this into a knob, and then this thing would fit on here like that, basically. Okay, that's one type of lid that I wanted to demonstrate today. I don't care about that thing. Next, now that thing that I did with the split lip that you saw a moment ago, I can also do that on the base of a pot. So I threw this little pot, and it also has a pretty thick lip. In fact, I'm even going to thicken up a little bit more. Give myself plenty of clay to work with here. Make sure that I'm really nicely centered. And now I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to split that lip and push it down. And that's what's called a gallery lip. So basically I created a gallery for me to put a lid on. Now this I would do the same type of thing that I did there, or I could do just a flat disc if I wanted to. I could just throw a flat disc that sets in there and that's fine. I could then add a knob to it, or I could throw it thick and then carve a knob into it. But I could also throw the little low bowl that you saw me throw last time around and have it set down inside like that. That's a way of basically doing that. I'm not going to throw the little bowl because I think you can picture me throwing a little bowl. Just go back and watch the video again to the point where it fits perfectly inside there and you could carve your knob and so forth. So there's another type of lid you can do. Okay, I'll tell you another type of lid, and that's for this one right here. See the shape that I'm working with right there? Kind of a dip or kind of a low thing. For that one, I'm going to do this. It's a little different than what I did before. This one I'm going to open off center. I'm going to push down right here, like that, and I'm going to probably have way too much clay. I don't think I'm actually going to, no, I might actually be able to make it fit. This is way too much clay, so I'm going to take a moment to carve some of this off. Work with a smaller bit of clay. Let's take a moment with these calipers again. Check my width of this thing, which I'm going to go ahead and go this way. So I want the whole thing to be about that wide, which is not that far off actually. So I can easily just do this. Now this thing, in this position, I could be creative with the knob, as I can throw the knob basically. And basically, it's a ring holder. So some of my students make this as a ring holder. This thing would set right down inside there. As long as this is the right size to fit that shape, and this shape kind of fits that, you're gonna flip this thing over. If I wanted to trim this later on, which I would be trimming it, this is gonna look goofy because of the fact that I would have this thing trimmed already. And then I would take this thing and I would turn it, I'd turn it upside down in here and I'd trim the bottom, is what I'd do with this thing. It would fit perfectly because I would have measured it accurately, and I could just trim over the bottom right there in this thing. Because of this tall thing, you're wondering how are you going to trim that? You trim it right there inside of this thing, trim it like that is what you would do. All right, hope you enjoyed the demo.